Greetings everyone, time for a video. Today I'm going to have another random tool comments, this time about this Wera Zyklop ratchet socket set. Picked this up around a little over 2 years ago. It's been my primary set I've used for mostly doing car work, but a few other things as well. It's metric. The part number is 8100 SB2. I picked this up on eBay from a seller in Germany. It's new, or when I picked it up it was new. It's been very used now. So I give it some pretty good feedback about, you know, how well it's worked for me and whatnot. I went back and forth with them, bargained, got a good deal on a make an offer, and it came out well. So this is what you get, the case itself, you know, with the ratchet, sockets, etc. This is the box. I just kept it, and I keep the all the other Velcro strips I get, a few other things I store in it. So it's pretty cool. I'm not really going to bore you with the details of it. You know, it just shows you all the stuff that's in it, and so forth. Anyway, so the set itself comes in this nice metal box. I think German Tool Reviews had a review of the 1/4 inch set. I don't know if it's exactly the same as this, except smaller. I'll put a link in the description below so you can check his out. He had some comments and thoughts. Mine are a little different because I've used this for some time now. So first off, like I said, you get this nice big metal case, which is pretty cool. There's a lot of positives about this set. There's a few negatives. I'm going to cover those as I go along. So the set, the case itself, like I said, it's metal. It's got a nice hinge here, piano style hinge. It's got a handle in the front, plastic. Got these two kind of studs with latches. You have this plastic. Of course, you got the nice sticker on the front, on the bottom. You know, metal. Got some these rubber feet as well. More about all this in a second. So the case itself, I like it a bunch. Size-wise, though, there are some issues I have with it, which I'll get to in a second. Size-wise, it's roughly, I think it's 9.5 this way, and about almost 10.5, maybe a little over, along with this diameter, or this dimension, sorry. And then it's probably about 1 3/4 inch thick. It weighs, and it's kind of hefty, which is, you know, nice to know in terms of what you're getting. I don't know if my little scale will hold it. It's about 2.2 kilograms, which puts it roughly about 5 pounds. That may not be an accurate measure because it was kind of tilted over, but that's a rough approximation. Give you a pretty good idea. Like I said, you got these nice plastic or rubbery kind of plastic feet. It's kind of soft. It's not too bad. As you can tell, though, or I'll zoom in real quick so you can see, they do get dirty, and that's kind of a downer, but you know, it's to be expected. To use something that's going to get beat up and dirty. I'm not sure long term how well these will last. Of course, you can see in the bottom here, you know, they're really got some dirt on them. So, but you know, whatever. It is what it is. Yeah, you buy tools and hopefully you use them. I mean, that's kind of the point, right? So there are things I'm not happy with about the case specifically. They have this plastic handle. Now, let's see if I can show you. Let me focus a bit, of course. This is always problematic. Yeah. So you can see, of course, you've got the same kind of, which is a nice little design. You have the Wera kind of handle style. This kind of same shape with the cutouts there that you see in the screwdriver handles, etc. It's pretty common to Wera. As you can also tell, it sits on the bottom. This is a plastic handle with plastic clips. I don't like that at all. And something else I don't like, I don't know if you noticed, it should be very apparent from the front here. It hangs down. And you might think, okay, whatever. But I'll have to refocus as I do this. But the problem is, of course, is you run the risk every time you put this down. If you can see, it sits flat, and then if you come down kind of hard on the surface, bam, you hit. Now, it does pop up. Now it kind of hangs out. It's kind of weird in that regard. I'm not a fan of the handle. I don't like the fact that it's plastic. I don't like the plastic clips. This is metal. It's really nice. This is fine. I don't mind the rubber padding or plastic padding, what have you, on there. That's okay. I expect that. And but this is always seems to be a bit of a downer to me, and I'm always, I guess, concerned, or I have the thought in my mind that I have to watch this when I pick it up and put it down, because it could always hit, or the other possibility something could catch it and break it. So I think this is kind of a negative for this, and it's a shame because everything else on it, other than one other thing, is pretty cool. I like everything else about it, but this is not so much. So I'm not sure how they could have fixed it other than maybe putting it up higher, up here, than having it hang down, which would be a lot better. But I find that thing on the bottom to be kind of a problem. Let's see. The other thing I don't like about the case, and you can tell it's heavy, is I'm not a fan of these plastic latches. Now, they've held up okay over 2 years, but I have to be... I have to treat them delicately. At least that's just my mindset. And, when you're working, you don't have to go and think about that sort of thing. Now, they've been fine. They haven't had any problems, but this plastic kind of reminds me of another style of plastic I have. So to give you an example, this is just a dinky light I picked up, Energizer. I'm going to talk about it, but you can even see here, it's already broken. And this plastic, this is a little harder, but I just have concerns that over time this is going to happen. And I don't know, maybe Wera sells them and you can buy them. I'm not sure, but it's just a concern. I think that's another design issue that's kind of a problem with it. I would have liked to see metal latches or something else. Like Ghidorah and Stavilla, they have, well, they used to have, you can see them on eBay where they have older sets that have metal cases that have a nice handle that's all metal and the latches are metal. I kind of would have liked to have seen that for at least those two parts. The rubber feet are fine. It's okay. The last thing that I don't like about the case is the size itself is kind of odd. I mean, like I said, it's roughly kind of like 9.5 by 10.5, which is kind of a weird size, I would think. You can find videos about the Wera to Go system. This doesn't fit in their big Wera to Go case. Now, maybe you wouldn't put it in there, I guess. So that's probably maybe not a fair thing to say, but I probably would have liked to seen at least a longer, thinner size. I don't know, it could be wrong on that. But that's just my thoughts, that this is kind of an odd size. I have a big toolbox, like a big blue cobalt metal one, and this would not fit quite right in it. It'd have to be kind of a weird angle, which is kind of odd. It's just kind of another thing I think that's a problem with it. All right, moving along. Now we're going to crack it open. So that's all for the case. Now open it up, of course, you get the nice, let me turn it kind of sideways so you can see the whole thing for a second. I'll twist it. But you can tell, of course, you've got this nice, which I really like this a lot, this nice inset, precision cut. They show you all the parts, 24 all the way down to 6 for the sockets, of course, which all run here. Everything corresponds. You've got the all your pieces, and of course everything's up here too, including part numbers, which is nice. They don't have them for the bit set, but that's okay. And I'm going to go through each of these individual pieces. The sockets themselves, which is, like I said, this is primarily what I use in terms of my socket set. I started out, like I said, with 6mm. Everything goes all the way up to 24mm. They only skip one thing, which is a 23mm, which is pretty nice, honestly. And I mean, I haven't had a need for a 23, but it's you might. You'll notice one thing if you pay attention real close. You'll see these kind of blue things I have in there. That's actually not part of this. That is, and I'll just pop it up and show you real quick. They don't come with this. This is the hot set version of these little magnetic inserts you can put in your sockets. I'm not going to talk about them here. I might talk about them in some other video, but just ignore them. I use them, but normally they don't come with it. They do have the color coding. I think it's the Wera's Take It Easy. So, you have your nice little ring of color, 6, 7, and it goes all the way up, size-wise. Each color still allegedly corresponds to whatever it is Wera has. I think the final size that it doesn't have it, or 19 is the final size that does have it, and then 20 is where they stop having it. So like 20, 21, and 22, 24, they don't have it. you know, the sockets are, if you've had any Wera stuff, you know what to expect. You've got a nice knurling, pretty raised, which is pretty good. 6-point, you may or may not like that. They have, you know, similar to Hotset and their traction point, and so forth. Others, they have the kind of the little rounded corner to make, you know, transfer more force on the face of a fastener. And actually, hang on, I'll pull a Craftsman and show you. All right, so you can kind of see a difference here, like between the 6-point and 12-point. Hopefully you can see that. But they have the cutout, and then this is a Craftsman 12, and you can kind of, or Craftsman 19. Here, let me compare actually the same. Pretty similar. The Wera is a little bit longer, which may either be a plus or a minus, depends on what you know, your thoughts on that. I do have this in there, the insert, so it's a little shallower, but you know, all in all, it's roughly the same. So you shouldn't have too many surprises. My thoughts on the sockets themselves have been, you know, they've done really well. They've held up well. I have abused them a bit. I got this one stuck, and then yeah, the finish got scraped off. Well, you know, whatever. Because I used some pliers and had to get the ratchet stuck, and it was kind of a mess, but I got it out. So like I said, I've been using them, but the sockets have done well. You know, in terms of their performance, I haven't had any complaints, and honestly, you shouldn't expect any from Wera stuff. It should work pretty well. Let's see. Let's talk about the bits next. I'll zoom in for those. The bits, you've got, this is metric hex starting at, let's see if I can get some light to see that properly. Yeah, 3 millimeters. And then I think they go all the way up to 10 millimeters. If I can find it, yeah. And then you've got, let's see, these are Phillips 2, a Phillips 3, and then positive drive 2, positive drive 3, just a straight bit. I don't know the size off the top of my head. I'm too lazy to look it up. They have skewer torques, which is kind of handy. This goes from, let's see, that's a 10 all the way up to 40. These will come back in another video because I'm going to do a comparison on something else that I just picked up recently. So that's your bits, and you have a bit holder that you can use with them. I'm actually not very much a fan of this bit holder. It's part of my concern is, well, I guess part of my issue with it is, okay, so I can't push this in, right? So I have to push it forward, and then I can pop it in and it locks. Now that's all good. But the problem is, you have to push it forward to get it, and it just doesn't come out. You know, there's other bit holders that I think are better. Even Wera stuff they have other bit holder styles in some of their screwdrivers. I would have liked to have seen some of what they've done with this. This one, to me, seems to be less convenient, I guess, to use in terms of, you know, bit holders and getting them in and out. It holds fine, but honestly, I'm not a fan of having to do the push out and then whatnot. I'd kind of either like to pop out or pull back, really, to do the release mechanism. You also get a wobble. I'm not a fan of wobbles too much. I do use them. It's fine. You know, it works. It's roughly 3 inches long. I don't know what that is in metric off the top of my head. 75 millimeters probably. And then you get a T-bar. Pretty good. I've used it a few times. It's kind of handy every now and then. And then you got, of course, you've got a universal joint. I've used it a little bit. It's fine. Works pretty good. It's nice and stiff, which I like. But it's not so stiff that you can't use it. And then the other thing that's nice is they have screws, which I think if you've watched my video about where I kind of fixed a loose Hotset universal joint, how having these screws really helps you to be able to fix it or tighten it up if it's loose. I think that's a plus in that regard. So they get a plus for that in their design. Those are hex screws, it looks like. And then they have the extensions. I like the extensions. They're locking extensions. Of course, you don't have to use the locking. And they have this plastic sleeve, which is kind of like a spinner. It's pretty nice. I think it's pretty handy to have it. But, you know, you may not find it useful. I can't really say. And then you got the locking. Now it's nice too because it has color-coded green for loose, red for lock. None of this stuff is really, if you've seen any of this before on other videos, it's nothing any different, but it's pretty nice to have it. It's a good feature if you need it. I don't really, my only thing potentially is an issue with this is this thing kind of sits out this little switch. So I guess, you know, if you're working, there might be a chance to catch it. But I've never seen a problem with that. But yeah, it's always a possibility. Then of course you have the longer one. Again, this one's really nice. Same thing. I don't think I've used this one as much, but it's handy to have. And then finally, the centerpiece of this, the Zyklop ratchet. There are other people who have done videos about it. If you look at the link for German Turtle Reviews, he discusses this in detail. I'm not really going to go too much in it. I actually don't use this too much. I was excited to get it, but what I found in practice is, I'm going to zoom back out some, is I'm not as much of a fan of it as I thought I'd be for the type of work I do. Now, that isn't to say that it's a bad ratchet or anything like that. It's actually excellent. They have some nice features. I like the spinner. The handle's very nice and comfortable compared to, you know, a standard metal handle. Let me grab a ratchet, I'll show you. Some of this, of course, is preference. Here's your standard Craftsman. This is a old made in the USA that you can't get anymore. You can see, you know, it's pretty comparable in length, but you got to realize you're gripping here and the handle forces you to be in a certain spot, while this, you might actually be able to get a little more off if you need to. And then, you know, if you're going to beat your ratchet, I'm not saying you should, this is a little easier. This, you might feel a little less inclined to do that. I'd say, honestly, you should be using a breaking bar at that point, but, you know, to each his own. Other things about it that are nice, the mechanism itself, very nice, very smooth. I like that a bunch. You know, give you a comparison to a Craftsman. This is an old one that's, you know, it's rough. It works fine, but it's definitely rough. But, you know, this one's nice and smooth. I think this is 80. Don't quote me that though. I think it's an 80 tooth. But I could be wrong. Let's see, other things, you know, the button's very good. It locks as you would expect. No surprises there. You know, it holds, it's fine. It's no big deal. Now, there are things I have issues with. Oh, before I forget, there's a couple other nice features which I do like, is of course you can angle it out a bit so you can get kind of flex headish, and then you can go this way for, you know, perpendicular, like if you're loosening something. And so like if you're doing something like kind of like a screwdriver style, you know, you would have something like this. And this is an interesting feature, which I do like. I think this is really nice. So, you know, they have the button, which you can release the locking mechanism. So with this, even though it's in this position, and then you pull this switch, of course you can move it. You can put it here, and then you can push it in like so, and pop it in. So you can use it like a driver, which is kind of handy. I haven't really done that much, but, you know, it's an option. So I think that's all really cool. Now, like I said, my problem with it is, well, it's partly the size. It is big and bulky. Now, even this big bulky Craftsman, which is, you know, it's pretty decent size, even it is larger than that. And then there's a significant difference, of course, in the depth here. Let me move this out of the way so you can get a kind of better contrast. That's pretty big from the top of the ratchet to the end of the anvil or the hammer or whatever you want to call it. Let me zoom in some more here and then get some contrast. Yep. So I'm not trying to be overly critical about it, but it is a consideration that if you're going to get into a tight space, this ratchet has concerns with me. I mean, or I have concerns about using it in a tight space. You've got a lot of space here. Honestly, that's roughly a little over 1.5 inches, and the Craftsman is 1 1/4. Now you might think, oh, well, that's not that much. Yeah, but it begins to make a difference when you're getting in tight spaces. And then when it comes to the depth, you're talking probably, even for the Craftsman, which isn't really a slim wrench, you're probably talking 3/8 of an inch, maybe even a 1/2 inch in terms of the depth. That makes a difference, especially when you're trying to get into a tight space. and you don't want to back yourself into a spot. So something to keep in mind. That's been my big negative about it. And then I'm not a fan of the length because, like I said, I like to have longer wrenches. So to give you an example of something that I do use all the time, and I use it with these sockets, you know, and it works well, is my Stavella. This is the 452QR, which I haven't done a review of this. I've done another review of its larger brother, the half-inch version. And as you can tell, you know, if I go from the button to the anvil, I mean, it's a pretty big difference in terms of how, you know, much thinner it is in terms of depth. I mean, it's almost the entire distance of the anvil, and that makes a difference because when you're trying to get in something, you know, having more space really makes a difference. So I think that's kind of one of the big negatives about this. Now, that's my complaint about it. That said, I think it's a wonderful ratchet. It's, you know, it's smooth. Just to give you again an indication what it sounds like. You know, it's a nice smooth ratchet, and in that regard, Wera really did an excellent job with it. So it's kind of more a matter of preference and style. I would say if you're going to go and have like a single set, and maybe you want to throw this in your car, etc., then this ends up being an excellent all-arounder. But as long as you understand the limitation that this ratchet is, A, it's short compared to, say, other possibilities, as well as it's bigger and bulkier. But then you get the flexibility of course, being able to angle it as well as use it in a perpendicular manner, you know, straight, kind of like a ratcheting screwdriver. You know, you're going to begin to understand that there's some real pluses to it as well. So it's kind of more a matter of what are you going to use it for? Is it going to meet your needs? That's kind of a question. And I'll also say that with this whole set, you know, it is pricey. It's very expensive. I got lucky. I got mine probably about 30% cheaper than what you can buy it now from, say, you know, American sellers. And I just got lucky. That seller was just willing to negotiate a lower price, and that was it. And I don't know if you could even, something like that would even happen again. That's just the way it went for me. But you don't know until you try. Let's see, other things about it. German tool review said this. I agree with them completely. This thing it's nice. This foam pad with all the markings is really handy, but it is held on there with double stick tape. I haven't had a problem with it coming off for too long. Over time, like you just saw, it'll pop off. I just smush it back and it stays on. But if it got to the point where it's too much, I don't know, hot melt glue it on or something, or maybe use contact adhesive. It's fine as long as I don't lose it. I don't care. I actually don't want to lose it because it's really nice and it's handy to be able to just look and grab and go for the socket sizes. I also like the foam insert. It's well done, and in fact, I liked it so much and it inspired me to make my own set, which is an SAE set that I'm going to cover in a separate video. But you know, for something like this, and I know like Autobahn Dan, for example, is not a fan of foam, which I get. While like the Lone Star Mopars guy, he does like it. He and I are more, I guess, in that approach. We like it a bunch more. My thoughts are, for something like this, it's excellent. I don't think you're going to go and add more. If you're buying a set like this, you're buying it for a certain reason, which is, you know, you're going to carry it somewhere. In my case, since the socket sizes are perfect for me, and then I use most of the drive tools, this works out pretty well. It is kind of annoying to carry it around some, but at the same time, I also like the fact that everything I need is here. I know if I'm going to do certain types of work, I'm grabbing this and I've got everything I need. I don't have to worry about it. So for a portable set, I think it's excellent. You know, maybe for like a service tech or someone like that, or someone is going to throw it in their car, this thing would be, you know, a wonderful choice. Other use cases, I can't say. You know, that's kind of just depends. Some other things, though, about this, you can, of course, pull this out. There is one nice thing about it. Of course, you can see it's double layer. They also, which you can't really see it too well because things will fall out, is they have cutouts. You know, let me get you in frame for these plastic feet. So if you remember, I said they had the plastic feet at the bottom. They get dirty, and I think German Tool Reviews, he covered this as well. They snap in. So I'm assuming or hoping that Wera could, if these get messed up or you lose them, you know, for whatever reason, you can go buy more. But I haven't had a problem with it. So, and then of course you can snap in the plastic handles and these have these little screws for these studs. So I think, you know, you can, in theory, replace all this and get it repaired if something's wrong. And given the money, it's probably worth it. Like I said, though, that's about it for this. I'll also mention this is extremely precise. The entirety of this whole set, honestly, is excellent in terms of quality. There's been nothing I've ever seen that's anything is wrong. It's very precise, very well made, high quality. What at least I would expect from Wera, and it's certainly delivered. And I've used it and I've been happy for it. So if my thoughts would be, if you want something like this is definitely worth it, but it is pricey. I mean, you can buy a lot of other stuff for the amount of money you would pay for this. And if I hadn't gotten a deal, I probably would not have picked it up. But, you know, it's one of those things where you got to keep your eye out, or you get a coupon or a special or something, or a sale, or find an eBay seller, or even pick this up used, because they do have used sets that pop up occasionally. And I would say for that regard, it's something worth keeping an eye out looking for. And if you really need something like this, it's certainly, at least, I don't think anybody will be disappointed if they get it. So anyway, that's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. And as always, thanks for watching.